I clicked to the next slide. Screenshots of her other victims. Their businesses damaged or destroyed by her rumors. I'm not pressing charges, I said. I'm simply telling the truth. Because the truth is stronger than any lie. Security escorted Vanessa toward the exit. She looked furious and humiliated. Blake, her fiancé, sat at his table looking shocked. He clearly hadn't known what she'd been doing. The room buzzed with whispers and shocked conversations. I'm announcing tonight the creation of the Second Start Foundation, I said, pulling attention back. It will provide funding and mentorship to entrepreneurs who've been rejected by their families, who've been told they're not good enough. The whispers grew louder. People pulled out phones, probably already researching how to donate or apply. Because everyone deserves support while chasing their dreams. Everyone deserves someone to believe in them. Suddenly, Dad stood up. He walked to the stage. I tensed, unsure what he was planning. He took the microphone gently from my hand. My son is the most remarkable person I know, Dad said, his voice thick with emotion. And I almost lost him because I was too proud and too scared to believe in him. I projected my own fears onto him and nearly destroyed his future. The room was completely silent again. Don't make my mistake, Dad said to everyone watching. Don't crush the dreams of people you love because those dreams make you uncomfortable. Don't measure success only by traditional paths. He turned to me. I'm donating $1 million to Kieran's new foundation. It matches the amount I once refused to lend him when he begged for help to save his business. My jaw dropped. The room erupted in applause. People stood clapping. A standing ovation. Dad handed the microphone back and returned to his seat. I stood there, overwhelmed with emotion. Mom was crying openly. Marcus was grinning. Preston was recording everything on his phone. Thank you, I managed to say. Thank you all. The rest of the night was incredible. People approached me constantly. Business cards. Congratulations. Investment offers. Partnership proposals. Media interview requests. Everything I dreamed of when I first started my company. Preston handled it all professionally, collecting information, making promises to follow up. Around midnight we finally left. Exhausted but triumphant. Back at my penthouse I collapsed on my couch, still in my suit. The city glittered below like scattered stars. My phone had hundreds of notifications. Messages. Emails. News articles about my speech. The video had gone viral. Tech Innovation magazine wanted to feature me on their cover. Sunday morning arrived golden and quiet. I woke up to sunlight streaming through my windows. The elevator chimed. I frowned, still half asleep. Who would visit this early? The doors opened. My whole family stepped out. Dad, Mom, Marcus, even my younger sister Paige, who I hadn't seen in months. They carried bags of bagels and coffee. We brought breakfast, Mom said softly. If that's okay. That's perfect, I said, smiling. We sat together at my table. Just family. Eating bagels and drinking coffee while the sun rose over the city we all called home. What happens now? Dad asked eventually. I thought about it. Now we try to build something real. As a family. Not perfect but honest and real. Marcus spoke up. I'd like to formally ask if I can work for you. Your company. I know I don't deserve it after what I did. But I want to learn from you. I want to build something of my own instead of just managing Dad's legacy. I looked at him carefully. You'd start at the bottom. Learn the actual work. No special treatment because you're my brother. I understand, Marcus said. I want to earn it. Then okay, I agreed. We can try. Mom reached across and took my hand. I'm sorry I wasn't the mother you needed when you were struggling. Can I be the mother you need now? I'd like that, I said honestly. Dad cleared his throat. I want to invest in your foundation. Really invest. Time and money. I want to help other young people the way I should have helped you. My phone rang. Thomas Rivera from Dallas. I answered on speaker. Mr. Hayes, congratulations. Your speech was extraordinary. I've been sharing it with everyone I know. Thank you, Mr. Rivera. I'd like to triple our contract and introduce you to 5 other CEOs who need your services. Your integrity is exactly what the business world needs more of. After he hung up, we all sat in stunned silence. Then Marcus started laughing. Soon we were all laughing. Relief, joy, hope for the first time in years. The sunrise painted everything gold. My family, broken and flawed but finally honest, sat together in the home I'd built. The success I'd earned. The life I'd fought for. Sometimes the best revenge isn't proving them wrong. It's proving yourself right while giving them a chance to grow too. And sometimes that's enough. Good. We'll discuss details after your gala speech. I'll be watching the live stream. Show them who you really are, son. He hung up. I stood there holding my phone, barely believing what had just happened. Well? Preston asked anxiously. The Dallas contract is safe, I said, my voice shaky. And he wants to expand it. Preston actually whooped with joy. Marcus grinned. Even Dad smiled, looking genuinely proud. Saturday arrived faster than I expected. The night of the gala. I stood in my penthouse wearing a custom suit I'd bought for the occasion. Navy blue, perfectly tailored, expensive. Preston had helped me pick it out. You look successful, Preston said, adjusting my tie. You look like exactly what you are. Marcus arrived in his tuxedo. Ready, brother? I feel like I might throw up, I admitted. That's normal before big moments, Marcus said. You've got this. Dad arrived next, Mom on his arm. She wore an elegant gown and looked beautiful. When she saw me, her eyes filled with tears. Oh, Kieran. You look so handsome. So grown up. Thanks, Mom. She hugged me tightly. I'm sorry I wasn't there for you. I'm sorry I let embarrassment win over pride in my own son. You're here now, I said quietly. That's what matters. We rode to the gala together as a family. The venue was incredible. Crystal chandeliers, elegant tables, hundreds of the city's most powerful people. I saw business leaders, politicians, tech executives. Everyone dressed perfectly. Everyone important. And in the corner I saw Vanessa. She wore a red dress and looked confident. Smug even. She had no idea what was coming. The dinner portion passed in a blur. I barely tasted the food. Marcus sat beside me, occasionally squeezing my shoulder. Dad kept giving me encouraging nods. Mom introduced me to board members, her voice proud for the first time in years. Finally, the speeches began. Mom took the stage first, talking about the foundation's work. Then she paused and looked directly at me. Tonight we have a special speaker. My son, Kieran Hayes, founder of Hayes Digital Consulting. He's going to share his story of building a successful business from nothing. Polite applause. Some people looked interested. Others looked skeptical. Vanessa looked angry. I stood and walked to the stage. The lights were bright. The microphone felt heavy in my hand. I looked out at hundreds of faces watching me, judging me, waiting to see if I was real or fake. Good evening, I said. My voice echoed through the ballroom. My name is Kieran Hayes. 3 years ago, my father told me I'd never make it on my own. The room went completely silent. People leaned forward. I saw Dad shift in his seat. He said I was irresponsible. That dropping out of business school meant I'd wasted my life. That the world doesn't reward quitters. He said I'd come crawling back, begging for a job at his company. I clicked to my first slide. A photo of my first apartment. Barely furnished. Cheap everything. A desk made from stacked milk crates. This is where I started. 3 years ago. Alone. Broke. With nothing but a laptop and an idea. Next slide. My first business loan approval letter. This is my small business loan. $8,000. High interest rate because I had no credit history. I paid it back in 14 months while working 3 side jobs. Next slide. Photos of my first tiny office. Literally a converted closet in a shared workspace. This is my first office. 60 square feet. No windows. I shared a bathroom with 15 other entrepreneurs. But it was mine. I clicked through slides showing my company's growth. Year by year. Client by client. Small projects growing into bigger ones. Revenue climbing slowly, then faster. This is what happens when you refuse to quit. When you work 7 days a week. When you believe in yourself even when your own family doesn't. The room was absolutely silent now. You could have heard a pin drop. Recently, I said, my voice getting harder, someone tried to destroy everything I built. I clicked to the next slide. The article about me. Projected huge on the screen behind me. This article claims I used family money to build my success. That I'm a fraud. That everything I have came from privilege I'm pretending I don't have. Gasps rippled through the crowd. People pulled out phones. Vanessa's face went pale. These claims are lies. Complete lies. Next slide. My bank records from 3 years ago. Showing a balance of $600. This is my actual bank account when I started my company. As you can see, I had almost nothing. Next slide. The business loan documents. The repayment schedule. Every payment marked paid. This is proof I funded my business with a legitimate loan. No cosigner. No family money. Just my business plan and my determination. Slide after slide. Client contracts with payment records. Tax returns showing my income growing year by year. Photos of me working late nights in that tiny office. Everything proving my success was real and earned through work. The person who wrote that article is here tonight, I said clearly. My eyes found Vanessa. Vanessa Palmer. Former business partner who's been spreading lies about me for 2 years. Everyone turned to look at her. She stood quickly trying to leave. Security moved to block the exits. Vanessa has targeted multiple entrepreneurs in our industry, I continued. I'm not the first. I won't be the last unless we stop her here. Thomas will give you 48 hours, Dad said, coming back inside from the balcony. He respects you, Kieran. He's used your services before and been happy. He just needs to see proof that contradicts this article. We'll get him proof, I promised. Preston pulled up files on his laptop. Look at this. I found social media posts from Vanessa going back 18 months. She's been planting seeds. Subtle questions about where your funding came from. Suggestions that you're not qualified for big contracts. She's been planning this for over a year, Marcus said, looking at Preston's screen. This wasn't impulsive. This was calculated. I felt sick. While I'd been working, building, focusing on my clients, Vanessa had been quietly working to destroy me. There's more, Preston said grimly. I found 3 other male entrepreneurs in the tech space. Vanessa spread similar rumors about all of them. 2 lost major contracts because of it. One's business went under completely. She's done this before, I said slowly. Multiple times. Dad's face hardened. Then we need to stop her. Not just for you. For everyone else she might target next. My phone rang. A known number. I answered cautiously. Hello? Mr. Hayes? This is Claudia Wu from Tech Innovation magazine. I'm calling about the article that was posted about you today. My heart raced. What about it? We'd like to fact-check it before running any coverage, Claudia said professionally. Can you provide documentation of your business funding sources and client relationships? This was it. My chance to control the narrative before it spiraled. Yes, I said firmly. I can provide complete documentation. Bank records, business loan papers, tax returns, client contracts. Everything. Can you send them within 24 hours? Claudia asked. I can send them in 2 hours, I promised. After I hung up, Preston was already organizing files. I'll create a complete evidence package. Timeline of your business growth. Photos of your early office, your first apartment. Bank statements showing you started with almost nothing. Dad pulled me aside. Your mother doesn't know about any of this yet. I'd been avoiding thinking about Mom. She'd always been easier on me than Dad, but she'd still been disappointed when I quit school. She'd stopped inviting me to family events eventually. Said it was too awkward explaining what I was doing with my life. Should I call her? I asked. She called me an hour ago, Dad admitted. Someone sent her the article. She's upset. Confused. She wants to talk to you. I took a deep breath and called. Mom answered on the first ring. Kieran? What is going on? Mom, that article is completely false, I said immediately. I never used family money. I never used Dad's connections. I built my company from scratch with my own money and my own work. Silence on the other end. Then, why didn't you tell us you were doing so well? Because every time I tried to share anything with you and Dad, you changed the subject, I said honestly. You were embarrassed that I'd dropped out. You stopped inviting me to family dinners. You told your friends I was figuring things out when I was actually running a successful business. I heard her breathing change. Oh, Kieran. I didn't realize you felt that way. I need your help now, I said. There's a charity gala next weekend. The one your foundation hosts every year. I need to speak there. I need to tell my real story in front of everyone who might have seen that article. More silence. The board already scheduled a speaker. Then unschedule them, I said firmly. Mom, I need this. I need people to hear the truth from me directly. Not from articles. Not from rumors. From me. I heard her take a deep breath. I'll call the foundation board. I'll make it happen. Thank you. After I hung up, Marcus looked at me with something like respect. You're really going to do this publicly? I have to, I said. If I hide, Vanessa wins. If I stay silent, people believe her lies. So I'm going to stand up in front of everyone and tell the truth. Preston started creating a presentation. Photos of my journey. Bank records. Loan documents. Client testimonials. Everything that proved my success was real and earned. We need to be ready for Vanessa to be at the gala, Marcus said. She won't miss it. Blake's family always buys a table. Good, I said. Let her be there. Let her watch me tell the truth. Over the next 5 days we worked constantly. Preston and I refined the presentation until it was perfect. Dad made calls to everyone he knew in business, explaining the situation, vouching for my character. Marcus talked to his colleagues, doing damage control in investment circles. Mom called the foundation board. They agreed to let me speak. Some were excited. Others were skeptical. But they all agreed to give me a chance. On Tuesday, I sent my complete evidence package to Thomas Rivera in Dallas. Every document proving I'd built my company legitimately. He called me back Wednesday morning. Mr. Hayes, his voice was warm and professional. I've reviewed everything you sent. My heart pounded so hard I could hear it. And? I believe you completely, he said. In fact, I'm impressed. Most people in your position would have taken family money. You did it the hard way. Relief flooded through me like water breaking through a dam. Thank you, Mr. Rivera. Your contract is safe, he continued. And I'd like to expand it. We're opening 2 more locations next year. Would you be interested in consulting for both? I almost couldn't speak. Very interested. Yes. The truth of those words settled over all of us like heavy snow. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I ignored it. It buzzed again. And again. You should probably check that, Vincent said, poking his head back in nervously. Your assistant has been calling me. Says it's urgent. I pulled out my phone. 7 missed calls from Preston, my assistant. 3 text messages marked urgent. My stomach tightened. I need to take this, I said, stepping toward the balcony. Preston? What's wrong? Kieran, we have a major problem. Preston's voice was stressed in a way I'd never heard before. Someone posted an article about you. About the company. It went live 20 minutes ago and it's spreading fast. My blood went cold. What kind of article? It claims you used family money to start your business. That your success is fake. That you're lying about being self-made. It's detailed, Kieran. Whoever wrote it knows things about your family. I felt dizzy. Send me the link. The article loaded on my phone. The headline made me want to throw up. Kieran Hayes, tech success story or family money fraud? The post claimed I'd used my father's wealth and connections to build my business. That I was pretending to be self-made while secretly funded by family money. It was well written. Convincing. Detailed enough to sound credible. If my clients believed this, everything I'd built would collapse. I walked back inside. Dad and Marcus looked up at me. What's wrong? Dad asked, seeing my face. I showed him my phone. Someone just tried to destroy my reputation. Dad read the article, his face getting redder with each paragraph. This is garbage. Complete lies. You haven't taken a penny from me since you quit school. Marcus read over his shoulder. Who would write this? Preston called again. I answered on speaker. I traced the IP address where it was posted from, he said quickly. It's registered to Hawthorne Investments. Isn't that your dad's company? Dad's face went white. Someone used my company computer? Not just any computer, Preston continued. The one in the executive conference room. It was posted during yesterday's board meeting. Marcus grabbed his phone, pulling up his calendar. Yesterday's board meeting. Who was there? He scrolled through the attendee list, reading names aloud. When he said, Vanessa Palmer, everything clicked into place. Vanessa, I said slowly. My former business partner. Dad frowned. The woman who wanted to merge your company with hers 2 years ago? The one you refused. I nodded. Vanessa and I had started working together when my company was new. She'd wanted to take shortcuts, overcharge clients, use my reputation to launch her own career. When I'd refused and ended our partnership, she'd been furious. Threatened me. Said I'd regret choosing integrity over profit. She's engaged to Marcus's colleague, I said, remembering. Blake something. Works at your investment firm. Marcus's eyes went wide. Blake Thornton. He's one of our senior analysts. Which means Vanessa's been at company events. Family dinners. She has access to both our worlds. She knows exactly how to hurt you, Dad said quietly. She knows your history. Your struggles. Your relationship with us. Preston spoke through the phone. Kieran, your Dallas clients just called. They're asking questions. They want verification of your credentials and funding sources. My biggest contract. 6 months of work. $500,000 in revenue. If I lost them, I'd have to lay off employees. Maybe close the new office I just opened. I need proof, I said, thinking fast. Bank records. Business loan documents. Tax returns. Everything showing I built this company with my own money. I have most of that in the office files, Preston said. I can compile it in an hour. Dad stepped forward suddenly. I can help. I know the Dallas clients. Their CEO, Thomas Rivera, we've done business together for 15 years. Let me call him. Let me explain that this article is lies. I looked at him in surprise. You want to help me? I asked carefully. Dad's voice was rough. You're my son. I may have been a terrible father, but I'm not going to let someone destroy you with lies. Let me do this. Let me try to fix something I've broken. Marcus stood up. I'll help too. Vanessa knows my colleagues. If she's spreading rumors in business circles, I can counter them. I can tell people the truth. For 3 years I'd done everything alone. Built my company alone. Fought my battles alone. Proved myself alone. The idea of accepting their help felt wrong somehow. Like admitting I needed them. But I was smart enough to know this wasn't about pride anymore. This was about survival. Okay, I said finally. Okay. Let's do this together. Preston spoke up. I'm heading to the office now to gather documents. Where should I bring them? Here, I said. Bring everything here. We'll work from the penthouse. For the next hour, my home transformed into a war room. Preston arrived with boxes of files. Dad made phone calls from the balcony. Marcus worked his phone, texting colleagues, doing damage control. I drafted a response statement with Preston's help. Vincent, the realtor, quietly brought coffee and sandwiches from somewhere. He didn't say much, just helped where he could. I started my own consulting firm, I interrupted, my voice steady and calm. Built it from the ground up. First year I barely survived. Second year I broke even. Third year, everything exploded. Now I've got 20 employees and clients in 8 countries. Dad scoffed, actually laughed in my face. Impossible. You were always the irresponsible one. The dreamer. The kid who couldn't stick with anything. You never had what it takes to run a real business. Not everything I built was designed to impress you, I said quietly, holding his stare. Some things I did just to prove I could survive without your approval or your money. Vincent stepped forward politely, sensing he needed to fill the awful silence. If you'll notice, gentlemen, this penthouse includes a private elevator entrance, a rooftop terrace with 360-degree views, and smart home technology throughout. Mr. Hayes also owns the commercial suite on the 8th floor, which he's currently converting into his company headquarters. Marcus's head snapped toward me. His eyes went wide. Wait, the 8th floor? That's where my investment firm leases office space. I know, I said calmly. I bought the building 6 months ago. 75% ownership. I'm the majority stakeholder. The color drained from Marcus's face completely. You're our landlord? Technically, my property management company handles the leases, I said. But yes, I own the building you work in. Marcus looked like someone had punched him in the stomach. Dad stood frozen by the windows, staring out at the city like he might find answers written in the skyline. That rent increase we got last month, Marcus said slowly, his voice barely above a whisper. The notice from the new building owner about updated lease terms. That was you. I nodded once. Marcus had complained for weeks about the greedy new landlord raising commercial rents. He'd called them heartless at family dinner just 2 weeks ago. Said they were bleeding small businesses dry. Dad had agreed, calling the new owner a typical corporate vulture. They'd been talking about me the entire time. Dad finally turned from the window, his face hard. You did all this just to humiliate us. To throw your success in our faces and make us feel small. No, I said firmly, my voice cutting through his accusation. I did this because I wanted a home. Because I wanted to build something that was mine. You're the one who made it about humiliation the second you opened your mouth in that lobby downstairs. Vincent quietly excused himself, practically running for the elevator. Smart man. The silence that followed felt heavy enough to crush diamonds. Marcus sat down on my custom leather couch without asking permission. Dad kept standing by the windows, his back rigid, his reflection barely visible in the glass. Finally Marcus spoke. His voice sounded different. Smaller. How long have you been planning this moment? I wasn't planning anything, I said honestly. I was just building a life. You two showing up here today was coincidence. I didn't even know you were viewing properties in this building. We weren't, Dad said quietly. We were meeting a client in the building next door. Marcus saw the Skyline Towers sign and suggested we look around. He said it would be funny to see places you could never afford. The words landed like physical blows. Even Marcus flinched at hearing them said out loud. So you came here specifically to mock me, I said. Not a question. A statement. Marcus put his head in his hands suddenly. I need to tell you something, Kieran. Something I should have told you 3 years ago. Dad and I both turned to look at him. Remember when you first started your company? Marcus asked, not looking up. When you were trying to land that first big client. The marketing agency downtown? I remembered. Wilson Marketing Group. They'd seemed interested in my proposal. Said they'd call me back. Then nothing. Complete silence. I'd followed up a dozen times before giving up. What about them? I asked carefully. Marcus finally looked up at me. His eyes were red. Their CEO, Brandon Wilson, he's Dad's golfing buddy. You didn't know that. But I did. My stomach dropped. You called Brandon, Marcus continued, his voice shaking. You pitched your services. He was impressed. He told Dad at the country club that his youngest son had real talent. Said he was thinking of giving you a contract. Dad's face went pale. Marcus, don't. I told Brandon you were unreliable, Marcus interrupted, talking faster now. I said you'd dropped out of school because you couldn't handle pressure. That you'd quit jobs before. That giving you a contract would be a mistake because you'd probably fail and make him look bad for hiring you. The words hung in the air like poison gas. I killed your deal before it even started, Marcus said, tears actually running down his face now. That contract would have been worth $60,000. It would have saved you that entire year. But I sabotaged you because I was jealous. My chest felt tight. I remembered that year. How close I'd come to giving up. How I'd eaten nothing but rice and eggs for months. How I'd worked 3 side jobs while building my business. How I'd almost quit and crawled back to Dad's company like he'd predicted. Why? I asked, my voice barely controlled. Why would you do that to your own brother? Because you're talented, Marcus said simply. You always were. People liked you naturally. Clients trusted you. You had vision and creativity. All I had was Dad's name and his money. I've never built anything on my own. Everything I have was handed to me. Dad looked like he'd aged 10 years in 10 minutes. Marcus, I didn't know you did that. You created the environment where I thought it was okay, Marcus shot back. Where hurting Kieran seemed like protecting myself. You taught me that only one of us could succeed. That his success meant my failure. Stop pretending you can afford this, Dad said sharply. His voice cut through the polished air of Skyline Towers like a blade. Every head in the marble lobby turned toward us. The realtor froze mid-sentence. Other clients stared. Even the concierge looked up from his desk with wide eyes. My father's words carried the same shame they always had. Dressed perfectly in arrogance and disappointment. My brother Marcus laughed beside him, adjusting his Rolex like he wanted everyone in the building to notice it. Come on, Kieran, Marcus said, shaking his head with fake sympathy. You can barely keep your car running. Why are we wasting this poor guy's time? Dad has actual business to handle. I stood there, forcing myself to breathe evenly. My hands wanted to shake, but I kept them steady at my sides. Every insult they'd thrown at me over the years came rushing back like a flood. Every time they told me I'd never amount to anything. Every laugh when I said I was starting my own business. But today was different. Actually, I said calmly, meeting Dad's eyes, I can afford it. Dad gave a dry laugh that bounced off the marble walls. Oh really? With what money? Your freelance checks. The realtor, Vincent, shifted uncomfortably. His expensive suit couldn't hide how badly he wanted to disappear. He was maybe 35, professional, clearly trapped in a nightmare situation he hadn't signed up for. Marcus smirked at me with that familiar look. The one that said I was beneath him. Dad's right, little brother. Some guys are meant to rent studios, not own penthouses. That's just reality talking. The words stung the way they always did. Sure. Deliberate. But I refused to flinch this time. I looked Dad straight in the eye and smiled slightly. Funny thing, Dad. I stopped caring about your version of reality a long time ago. Marcus rolled his eyes dramatically like I was a child throwing a tantrum. Oh man, here we go with the motivational poster speech. Can we leave now? I've got drinks with actual successful people tonight. Vincent cleared his throat nervously. He looked at me, then at my family, then back at me with uncertain eyes. Mr. Hayes, he said carefully, choosing his words like walking through a minefield. Would you like me to show your family the penthouse you purchased last year? Or should we start with your commercial property on the 8th floor? Complete silence fell over the lobby. Dad's mouth opened slightly, but no sound came out. His face went pale. Marcus's smug expression slid off his face like melting wax. The echo of Vincent's words hung in the expensive air. Your penthouse. Your commercial property. You're lying, Dad finally muttered, his voice shaky. This is some pathetic joke to embarrass your family, isn't it? I turned to Vincent calmly, keeping my voice level. The penthouse, please. It's more private for family conversations. Marcus was already fumbling with his phone, fingers flying across the screen frantically. I knew exactly what he was doing. Pulling up property records. Searching databases. Trying to prove I was lying. His face drained of all color as he stared at his screen. Dad. Marcus's voice cracked slightly. His name is on the deed. Kieran Hayes. Cash purchase. 9 months ago. 2.8 million. The elevator doors opened with a soft, expensive chime. Gold panels and mirrors waiting patiently. I stepped inside first without hesitation. My reflection stared back at me from 3 angles. A man who had finally stopped apologizing for breathing. You coming? I asked lightly, holding the door. Dad looked like he wanted to say something cruel. Something cutting that would put me back in my place. But for the first time in my memory, Dad couldn't find the words. His face twisted with confusion and anger. Marcus hesitated by the elevator entrance like it might be a trap. They both stepped inside eventually, moving like they were walking through water. As the doors slid shut, I watched their shocked reflections multiply in the mirrored walls. For the first time in 28 years, I was the one leading. Not following. Not apologizing. Leading. The elevator ride felt like it lasted an hour. Nobody spoke for the first 30 seconds. I could feel Dad's anger radiating from his corner like heat from a furnace. Marcus kept staring at his phone screen like it might suddenly announce this was all fake. Finally, Dad broke the heavy silence. Where did you get that kind of money? Did you rob a bank? Steal from investors? There's no way you earned this legitimately. No crimes, Dad, I said quietly, watching the floor numbers climb. I built something real. While you were busy telling everyone at dinner parties that I was your failure of a son. Marcus scrolled frantically through his phone again. His face kept getting paler with each swipe. Dad, his company. Hayes Digital Consulting. Thrill. They've got major clients. Tech companies. Marketing agencies. Corporate contracts. That's impossible, Dad snapped, his voice harder now. You dropped out of business school, Kieran. You couldn't even finish what I paid for. You quit after 3 semesters and wasted $50,000 of my money. The elevator chimed softly. Top floor. I remember every word you said that day, I replied as the doors opened. You told me I was throwing my life away. That I'd end up serving coffee to people with real degrees. That you were done wasting money on a quitter. Sunlight poured into the elevator like liquid gold. The penthouse stretched before us, all floor-to-ceiling windows and open space. The city sprawled endlessly below, glittering in the afternoon light like scattered diamonds. Marcus stepped out first and stopped dead in his tracks. His mouth hung open. This, you actually live here? Yeah, I said simply, walking past him into my home. Bought it last year. Paid cash. Dad walked in slowly, like he was entering a dream. His expensive Italian shoes clicked against my heated marble floors. I watched his face twist between disbelief and rage. The kind of rage a man feels when reality stops matching his beliefs. He turned sharply to face me. Oh, you had nothing 3 years ago. You were living in that dump apartment. Eating ramen. You were broke.